It comes to nobody's surprise that I am a proud Warden main. I've been making videos on how to play the hero, and in those videos I always show some sort of disdain for the hero in terms of where he falls in viability. To anyone new here, I'm saying that Warden sucks. He has it for the past 2 years. He's been kind of just swept under the rug and forgotten about. In this new era for Honor where most new heroes have paragraphs of movesets and abilities, Warden's moveset is microscopic. Now that's not a bad thing entirely, but in truth, Warden's moveset actually just looks like this. Now the question I get asked most often is, well, how do you want Ubisoft to buff the Warden? And I've been spending a couple days thinking about it, and I think my changes I've found are very viable, but not frustrating. After a long consideration, I've kind of made my own list of buffs and nerfs I'd like to see this hero eventually get. Let's just start off with something simple. For Warden being advertised as the master of the longsword, the actual longsword use is very minor, so I kind of want to focus on more of that. My first change I want for Warden is more of mid-chain attacks or a wider option for smoother blending. What I'm saying is that I think Warden should have mid-chain light attacks. So what does this mean? I think Warden after a heavy attack should have 3 options. Go for the unblockable like normal, go for the bash like normal, or he can do mid-chain lights after the heavy hits, which is his double lights other than top. This will then either branch into his unblockable like normal, or a bash. I doubt anyone in the community would actually have an issue with this, seeing as Warden's lights are some of the worst in the game. They're very predictable, very well animated, and just very slow. But this will at least give him more control over just his sword, which I think he needs the most. What would also be cool to see adding on to that is maybe being able to zone instantly after heavies or lights. Yet again, as I say, more flow into his combos. The next change I want to see is more targeted to his Valiant Breakthrough, or you know it as his roll catcher. This one's just short and sweet. I think that this should have the undodgeable property. This makes it a lot closer to Warmonger's roll catch, but I doubt this would cause any real issues. Obviously, the move should keep its speed and should remain unfaintable, meaning you actually have to fully commit to throwing this out instead, unlike Warmonger's. Now this is a change I'm going to go over that I've seen a lot of people say. A lot of Warden mains want all side crushing counters. And this may come to surprise, but I think he shouldn't have all side crushing counters, and I'm going to tell you why. In the opening, I wanted to have a viable but not frustrating kind of playstyle. And with the large amount of heroes that have just been added with crushing counters now in the game, I think this would be more unhealthy for the game to add yet another side crushing counter hero. Lastly, we're going to look at his bash, and yes, the bash is already very good, but there's buffs and a nerf I want to see coming to this bash. Let's start with the buff. Plain and simple, I think Warden level 3 bash follow-up heavy after should maintain its hyper armor. There is exactly 2 reasons I want this. First off, in Dominion, it's not rare for someone to randomly external you and knock you out of your follow-up heavy after level 3 bash. It already takes a long time to charge, and anyone paying attention will just knock you out of it with any light attack. The second reason is kind of actually hard to explain, but if you play Warden, you've seen this before. Most of the time when you are going to hit a level 3 bash on someone who is panic dodging, your hyper armor will trade with the dodge attack and you will hit him with your level 3 bash. But sometimes, when they do the dodge attack late enough, it will actually delay when the light will hit you, and sometimes it will hit you after the hyper armor on your bash is worn off, aka you are hitting them with your shoulder, but they hit you after hyper armor, knocking you out of your follow-up heavy. Again, as I said, this is very confusing and this is almost not creatable to even show you. But if you play Warden, this has happened to you. Now the nerf I'd like to see if these changes go through is that Warden level 3 bash should actually lose its faintable property. Yeah, I know, Warden mains cannot believe what I'm saying. But I think it's a lot healthier for the game's sake to not give Warden a 33-33-33. What are these random numbers I just showed you? Well, think of it like a 50-50 mix-up, but split into 3 options. When a Warden is going to use a level 3 bash, the opponent must make the right guess that he's going to charge the bash, which is 33%, and now he must make 2 other reads. Is he going to commit to the bash, or is he going to let it fly? And keep in mind, a good Warden will not always feint his level 3 bash. Once a good Warden, figures out that you aren't dodging on level 3 timing, he will randomly decide if he's going to let it fly or not, and now that is up to you to figure out. There is no tell if he's going to or not, you just have to make the right read. This makes Warden's bash extremely frustrating between every other bash, because if you try to roll away from it on random timings, then you will just be hit by his level 3, or he will Valiant Breakthrough catch roll you. Catch roll? Chase you. Sure, let's go with that. The sole purpose or the sole feeling of this 33 bash is why people say that Warden doesn't need buffs. So let's just go through the changes, as I said, just one last time, but very quick fire. I think the first change, he should have more in-chain combos, aka lights and zones integrated into his full combos. I think that his level 3 bash should have hyper armor on the heavy. I think there should not be crushing counters on all sides, and I think level 3 bash should not be feintable if these changes go through. Now, remind you, I am no game dev. I'm just some guy who's poured almost 4,000 hours into this game, and maybe even 1,000 on Warden, who knows. But one day, I can only hope that Warden will be addressed in ways close to mine, or addressed at all. This hero is in dire need of a facelift in terms of moveset, but I only hope that Ubisoft's not going to make the hero I've spent years mastering into some easy pub stomp hero like they did with Shinobi. Nevertheless, I hope you have a good day. I'll see you guys in the next one.